What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great day or night whenever you're watching this. I want to talk about my top 5 breakout candidates for this upcoming NFL season. I've got some names on here that maybe you've thought of, maybe you haven't thought of. Before I get into it, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video. And on top of it, let me know who your breakout candidates are. You may agree with me, you may disagree with me. Let me know in the comments. All right, so let's get into it. I want to start off with my honorable mention. I got it as DeAndre Swift. I really like him this season because his O-line got a lot better. Frank Ragnow's back. He can run, he can catch, he can go between the tackles, he can make people miss. Talent-wise, it's all there. He just hasn't had the talent around him for a while now. And then, of course, he's got to stay healthy on top of it. Last season, the Lions offense switched coordinators late in the season, and in those games, they were just so much better. Jared Goff was so much better. Going into this season with that coordinator, I think the offense will be a lot better. I'm really excited to see how he performs in it. Given that he is a dual threat running back, running and catching, I'm expecting him to surpass about 1,500 all-purpose yards. So I could see him getting 1,000 rushing, 500 catching, and around 10 TDs. I'm expecting that kind of volume season. I know he shares workload with Jamal Williams, but I think he's got the talent to do it, and I think they're going to give him the opportunities. So DeAndre Swift is my honorable mention. Number 5 he's gonna have a great season. I'm calling it now. I got Ceedee Lamb at number 5. He's the new wide receiver 1 for the Cowboys. We know he's uber talented. Now he's getting the workload of a wide receiver 1 because Amari Cooper is gone. That's like 104 targets that are opened up for him to go get. I'm expecting Dak to, quite honestly, rely on him a lot more because no Amari. Michael Gallup's coming off of that ACL injury. So it's really looking like he's really all they have in terms of the receiving game. Yeah, you got Dalton Schultz, who's a great tight end, and then you got Tony Pollard and Zeke. But I'm expecting CD1 to be the clear and above wide receiver 1. He's not going to be fighting for targets. He's going to have all the ones that he can get. Last year, he had a good season. He had 79 catches, 1,100 yards, and 6 TDs. With Amari gone and all those targets on the table, getting that wide receiver 1 workload, I'm expecting him to go for 90-plus catches, 1,300-plus yards, and 10-plus TDs. I really think he's going to have a great year. This is why they drafted him, is to be this wide receiver 1. I think this is the year that he shows it. Also, small disclaimer for this list, I'm not putting any rookies just because they could all break out technically. I want guys that have already played and I'm expecting them to take that big jump. So that small disclaimer. Number 4, I've got Jaycee Horn. Last season, he got hurt in week 3, but in those 3 games that he did manage to play in most of the third game or whatever, he was really, really good. His passer rating allowed was 39.6, which is the very bottom. That's about as good as it'll ever get. He was picked 8th last year for a reason. His talent it's all over. You can see he had an interception in one of his 3 games. He's a lockdown corner. I'm expecting him to jump into that top 10 corner conversation because, one, he was showing it when he was playing last year. He didn't have an ACL injury. He had a broken foot. So it's more, that injury's not quite as hard to get over, in my opinion. And he was balling last year before that injury. Yes, it was only a couple games, but I'm really expecting him to come in this season. If he's healthy, he'll be in that top 10 corner conversation, and he's probably going to have 4 or 5 plus picks, a lot of pass deflections, and a really low passer rating allowed. He's really talented. So if you're watching the Panther draw this season, watch him at corner. He's going to be locking wide receiver 1s down. Number 3 might be the most polarizing player on this list. It's Jalen Hurts. To put it simply, this is Jalen Hurts' biggest year of his entire career. This is the first time since I think high school that he's played in the same system consecutively. So every year that he's played, he's had a new coordinator, a new offense that he's had to learn. This is the first time in forever that he's ever gone into a season where he already knows the offense. He's already played a year under it. So I think that continuity is a really big deal. His O-line is top tier. He's got 2 wide receiver 1s now in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He's got a really good tight end in Dallas Goedert. Their running backs are serviceable. Miles Sanders is talented. Boston Scott is good. Kenneth Gainwell can play. So they've really got a really talented offense. The biggest piece is him. If he takes that jump, that team is going to be really, really hard to beat. And, he's shown his leadership. He's shown all the intangibles. This year, it's about putting it all together on the field. And I think this is really his make or break year because there's no excuses. He has all the talent around him now. Last season, he didn't have all that talent. He didn't have A.J. Brown. There was different things going on, and this season he does. He has the continuity going in. He has, his best friend at wide receiver in A.J. Brown. He's got Devontae Smith going into year 2. He's got all these good things going for him. Last season he had 3,100 passing yards, 16 passing TDs. I think it was 9 interceptions, correct? 61% completion percentage. But he is a dual threat quarterback. He ran for 784 yards and 10 touchdowns. This season, I'm expecting him to throw for 4,000 yards. I think that's got to be the bare minimum. He's got to get there. He's got to improve as a passer. That's the biggest thing for him. So if he does that, the team's going to be a lot better. So I'm saying 4,000 yards, about 600 rushing. I think if he gets better as a passer, he won't have to run as much. So I like that statistic for him. I'm hoping for his total TDs to go from 26 to about 35. Give me like 9 more touchdowns. Give me a higher completion percentage. Get it to like 64. Just improve overall as a quarterback, and I think the team will be a lot better. This is really his biggest year yet. Number 2, we got Michael Pittman Jr. He's the wide receiver 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. They drafted Alec Pierce, so the wide receiving core got a little bit better, so he doesn't have that same workload, or not workload, but that same amount of pressure on him. And they improved at quarterback. They went from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is great for fantasy wide receivers. Has been notoriously for his entire career. It is year 3 for Michael Pittman. He has improved each and every single year up until this point, so I'm expecting him to continue doing that. I think getting a better quarterback with the expected improvement. Last year he had 88 catches, which is really good, 1,082 yards and 6 touchdowns. I'm expecting him to kind of go for about 95 catches, like a little uptick in catches, but I'm expecting his yards to go into like the 1,250 territory. I think he can do 1,250 yards, and then I think he can get 8+ TDs. I really like, their offensive line is really good. Jonathan Taylor is obviously Jonathan freaking Taylor. Their defense is one of the most underrated, best ones in the entire league. So I think their offense is going to have a lot more opportunities to score, do things like that. I really like Michael Pittman Jr. this year. He's a sleeper for fantasy. I'm thinking that he's going to have one of these crazy good seasons. He's a big play guy. He's tall. He's got speed. He's got all the talent. So I think getting the quarterback and then getting into the offense, and he's going into year 3, all these things are showing that he should have a great improved season and break out as a wide receiver 1. Number 1 is going into his second year in the NFL, and he had a really, really tough rookie year, but it's Trevor Lawrence. I think when you look at what he had to work with last year, it was the bottom of the freaking barrel. I don't know if I could name a receiver that he had. Laviska Shenault, like there was nothing there last year. He had James Robinson, but James Robinson got hurt. So this is why I think last year he didn't have a great year. He just didn't have the talent around him. This year, the talent skyrocketed compared to what it was last season. He's got an improved O-line with Brandon Scherf. And then they drafted a rookie center, I think, in the 3rd round. So they've got they revamped that a little bit for him. So, when you get a top, 6 or 7 right guard in Brandon Scherf, that's really going to help your quarterback well, and it'll probably help your running game too. Speaking of the running game, he's getting Travis Etienne back, and that was his college teammate. He missed all of his rookie season last year. There's a reason that guy went in, I think, the 1st round last year as well. He's a dual running back. He can catch, he can run. He's fast as hell. Getting that is going to really help his game too. And then James Robinson, I know he's coming back, but having at least one solidified running back who I think is going to be really good is going to help him a lot. Because what's the best thing you can do for a young quarterback is give him a running game. So I think that'll really help him. And then they didn't get any like elite like god tier wide receivers, but they picked up Christian Kirk. They did pay him a lot, but Christian Kirk is a talented receiver, and I think maybe him going into that wide receiver 1 role, maybe he could break out. He might be a candidate. Travis Etienne could be a candidate too, for all I know. But I didn't want to put him on here because he didn't play at all last season, so I don't really have anything to base off of him. And then they added Zay Jones too, who had a really good season for the Raiders last year. So they improved the receiving core. They got better running backs, and did they pick up Evan Engram? I could be wrong on that. They might have. I'm not sure. Probably wrong on that. But the improved O-line. He's going into his 2nd year. He's kind of seen the NFL defenses a little bit, so I'm expecting him to have a big jump. And then the defense on his team got better. They're not going to be top 5 or anything like that, in my opinion, but they got better. Their linebacking core got a lot better. They drafted Trayvon Walker 1st overall, who's, there's high potential in him. And then Devin Lloyd was my personal favorite linebacker in the draft. They got him too, and then they got Oluokun, who I think he led the league in tackles last season, or was somewhere in the top 5. He's really good. So they revamped the defense. And then they also got Darius Williams at corner. So the defense is better overall, so he won't be, in these games where they're just getting destroyed. The game should be closer, in my opinion. So I think getting that dynamic running back, getting the improved O-line, getting a couple decent receivers at least, and then you get your defense to improve. You're going into your 2nd year. I'm expecting him to have a huge jump. There's a reason this guy went 1st overall in the draft. His stats last season were 3,641 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. That's a horrible ratio. This year, I'm expecting him to throw for 4,200. That might be a huge, there's no way he does that. People might say that. I'm expecting 4,200 yards because he did improve everything else around him. So I think that's fair to him. 27 touchdowns and 12 INTs. I want to see that ratio flip instead of being negative. I want it to be a 2-to-1 ratio at least. If he throws for 4,000, gets about 27 touchdowns, then you got your running backs doing their thing. I don't think the Jags are going to be particularly great this season, but they'll be competitive. And I think that's what you're looking for when you're rebuilding your team, is that you're seeing guys grow and the team be more competitive with better teams in the league and not just getting destroyed every week. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to get sacked 40 plus times, 50 plus times like he was last season. I'm expecting a big year out of him. He's my number one breakout candidate, and I think when you put everything together, you can see why I'm thinking that, right? So just to recap, honorable mention was DeAndre Swift. My fifth guy was Ceedee Lamb. Fourth, Jaycee Horn. Third was Jalen Hurts. 2 was Michael Pittman Jr. And number 1, Trevor Lawrence. Those are my breakout candidates. So that is my list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you absolutely despise? I'm here for it all. Who are your breakout candidates? I really want to know, because I had to ask some friends. I'm like, I got a few guys in my head. Who do you guys think is going to break out? And one of them actually mentioned Trevor Lawrence, and I was like, oh my God. After I started thinking about it, I was like, he's got like everything going for him. So let me know who you got in the comments. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video. But let's see if I go 5 for 5 this season, or if my prediction is absolutely awful and I go 0 for 5 and they all suck. And, we can laugh at me later on. But anyway, thank you for watching. I am done here. Peace.